There's something powerful about the unknown, something magnetic about mystery. When you're always available, always texting back, always explaining yourself, you become predictable. And predictability doesn't excite anyone. What really ignites desire is space, curiosity, the unanswered. That's why the moment you start to separate not just physically, but emotionally and energetically, he starts to feel something he hasn't in a long time, hunger. You see, human psychology is wired to chase what it doesn't fully understand. It's not intentional, it's instinctive. When someone pulls away or becomes less accessible, our brain starts to fill in the blanks. What is she thinking? Why hasn't she called? Is she seeing someone else? That internal dialogue creates emotional chaos, and in that chaos, obsession is born. The more access you give, the more people take you for granted. But the more you pull back, the more they start to notice your silence, your distance, your absence. And that silence becomes louder than anything you ever said. Here's the truth: when you detach, when you stop oversharing, over-explaining, or overgiving, he starts wondering about you. When you stop being his emotional home, he feels lost. That's not because you're being manipulative. It's because you've shifted the energy back into yourself. And that shift is powerful. Have you ever noticed how the less you care, the more people chase you? It's not a coincidence. The less predictable you become, the more exciting you are. When you're not always available, your presence starts to feel like a gift instead of a guarantee. He doesn't know what you're doing. He doesn't know where you are. And suddenly, his mind starts working overtime. He used to scroll past your stories. Now he's watching everyone. He used to ignore your silence. Now he's replaying old conversations in his head. Because mystery isn't just intriguing, it's addictive. People crave what they can't fully grasp. And when you stop giving everything away, when you become emotionally independent, you become a puzzle he's desperate to solve. And listen, it's not about playing games. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about recognizing your worth. It's about realizing that you don't need to overexpose yourself to be valuable. Your mystery is part of your power. Your silence can speak louder than your words. And your distance, that's where your influence begins. Think about it. The most attractive people aren't the loudest ones. They're the ones you can't quite figure out. The ones who make you wonder. The ones who are fully present in their own world and invite you in selectively, not desperately. You don't chase people like that. You gravitate toward them. So when you start to separate not out of spite, but out of self-respect, you reclaim your power. You stop needing validation and start commanding attention. He feels your absence not because you're punishing him, but because you've elevated your energy. You're no longer operating from a place of fear. You're operating from a place of freedom, and that's what really draws people in. Confidence in your own energy, peace in your own solitude, that unshakable knowing that you are whole with or without him. That's when he begins to miss you. That's when he starts to want you, not because you begged for his time, but because you took yours back. The more you separate, the more he wants you, because your mystery forces him to feel, to think, to chase. And in a world full of people desperate for attention, the one who stands still becomes the one everyone runs toward. Let's make something clear. Neediness is not love. It's fear disguised as connection. It's the fear of being left, the fear of being alone, the fear of not being good enough. And here's the truth. That fear repels the very connection you crave. The more you cling, the more you chase. The more you check your phone wondering why he hasn't replied, the more invisible you become. Because nothing kills attraction faster than desperation. Why? Because desperation signals one thing: lack. It says, I'm not enough without you. I need you to feel okay. I need you to complete me. But real attraction, real power, that comes from abundance. It comes from wholeness. It comes from standing in your worth so deeply that you don't need anyone to validate it. When you are constantly available emotionally, mentally, physically, you may think you're being loving, but what you're actually doing is flooding the connection. You remove the tension, the mystery, the desire. You give so much of yourself so quickly that there's nothing left to earn. And what's too easily earned is rarely valued. But when you step back, when you create space, you allow him to feel your absence. And in that absence, he starts to realize your value. When you don't respond immediately, when you don't rearrange your life for every call or text, when you don't seek his attention just to feel validated, you build value. You show him that your world doesn't revolve around him, that you have your own passions, your own goals, your own peace. That distance, it speaks volumes. It says, I am not desperate. I am desired. And this isn't about being cold or heartless, it's about protecting your energy. Because when you're giving constantly without receiving, you're not building a connection. You're draining yourself. You're trying to force a bond that should grow naturally, and forcing anything in love only leads to resentment, burnout, and disappointment. You want to be respected. You want to be chased. Then don't smother him with your presence. Surround yourself with your own life. Be so full of purpose and direction that he has to rise to meet you. Because the truth is, men value what they have to work for, what they have to earn, and the more you show up without making him earn it, the less he feels the need to keep showing up for you. There's power in knowing when to walk away, power in choosing yourself, power in saying, if I have to beg for it, I don't want it. Because every time you pull back to pour into yourself, you send a message, I'm not here to chase, I'm here to be chosen. And something changes in him when you stop showing up like you used to. When your energy detaches, when your life becomes less about what he's doing and more about what you're building. He begins to feel that shift. The messages slow down, the check-ins aren't as frequent, and suddenly he's the one wondering, did I lose her? That thought? That fear? That's where the chase begins. Not because you manipulated him, but because you rebalanced the energy. You stopped feeding the dynamic where you give and he receives. You reclaimed your place, not as an option, not as an accessory to his life, but as a woman of value. You don't need to yell. You don't need to argue. You don't even need to explain yourself. Just pull your energy back. Focus on your growth, your glow, your goals. Become so secure within yourself that whether he stays or goes, you remain unshaken. That's where your power lies, not in how much you give to him, but in how much you've already given to yourself. So remember this, the moment you stop needing him, he starts needing you. The moment you stop chasing his love, he starts chasing your presence. Because love built on freedom, not fear, is the only kind that lasts. And when you stop showing up out of need and start showing up from strength, he can't help but be drawn to you. People often confuse emotional detachment with being cold, rude, or heartless, but that's not what true detachment is. Detachment isn't about shutting your heart down. It's about protecting your peace. It's the difference between reacting out of desperation and responding from a place of calm. And that calmness, that emotional neutrality, is what makes you powerful. You see, when you're emotionally reactive, when every word he says, every action he takes, every delay in his reply shifts your mood, you're handing over control. You're letting someone else determine how you feel. That's not love. That's emotional slavery. But when you detach, you take that power back. You reclaim your energy. You stop living on edge, waiting for someone to validate you or destroy you. Let's be real. You're not cold for not crying over every message left on read. You're not heartless for not begging someone to stay. You're strong because you've realized that your emotional peace is not up for negotiation. You've learned to stand still when the chaos tries to pull you in. When you master detachment, you no longer chase closure. You don't over-explain. You don't try to fix what someone isn't willing to fight for. Instead, you observe, you understand, and then you let go quietly, peacefully, powerfully. That kind of self-control is rare. That level of emotional maturity is magnetic, because here's the truth. Nothing makes a man more curious, more drawn in, more off balance than a woman who's unbothered. Not passive, aggressive, not pretending, but truly at peace. A woman who isn't emotionally dependent on him, yet still carries grace, still carries warmth. But for herself first. And that's the key. You're not detaching to punish him. You're detaching to protect you. You've spent enough time pouring into others who left your cup empty. You've cried enough over people who couldn't even meet you halfway. You're done living in emotional extremes. Now you live in emotional balance. That balance says, I care. But I won't beg, I feel. But I don't fall apart, I love. But I do not lose myself. Do you know how powerful that is? Do you know how rare it is for someone to carry love without attachment? To be able to walk away with grace instead of guilt? To choose silence over chaos? You don't have to announce it. You don't have to scream, I'm done. Your energy will speak for itself. Your calm silence will echo louder than your loudest cry ever did. He'll feel it. He'll feel the shift the moment you detach, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. The moment you stop reacting, he'll realize he no longer has the power to shake your spirit. The games won't work. The silence won't hurt. The inconsistency won't distract you, because now you're centered, you're grounded. You're free, and that freedom, it's attractive, because when you don't need someone to validate your worth, they're drawn to your independence. When you're not emotionally swayed by every little thing, you become a stable force in a chaotic world. And people want to be close to that. They want to figure you out. They want to win back the access they once took for granted. But not everyone will, and that's okay. Detachment also teaches you to be okay with letting go, to accept that not everyone will stay. Not everyone is meant to, and not everyone is worthy of your emotional availability. You are not cold, you are clear. You are not bitter, you are better. You are not hard-hearted, you are healed, and healing doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop overfeeling for people who won't even meet you halfway. So the next time someone says you've changed, smile. Because yes, you have. You've stopped allowing people to pull you out of your peace. You've stopped chasing love at the expense of your sanity. You've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer breaks just because someone left. You've stepped into emotional power. And from that place, you don't chase, you attract, you don't react, you decide, and you don't fall, you rise. There's a psychological truth most people overlook. What's rare becomes valuable. What's always available gets ignored. And when something, or someone, is hard to get, our mind automatically assigns it more worth. That's not just opinion. That's human nature. So when you become less accessible, less reactive, less emotionally available, something shifts. He stops taking you for granted, and he starts obsessing. Think about it. When you were constantly texting, calling, showing up, making sure he was okay, you became predictable. Easy to reach, easy to figure out. There was no mystery, no question, no tension, and without tension, desire fades. But the moment you start to separate, emotionally, mentally, even physically, you create space, and in that space, he starts to feel your absence. He starts to realize how much he depended on your presence, your attention, your comfort, your energy. He may not say it out loud, but suddenly he's watching your every move. He's checking your status. He's looking for signs. Because when something becomes scarce, the mind becomes obsessed with it. Scarcity doesn't mean ignoring him or playing games. It means reclaiming your energy and not handing it out like free samples. It means you no longer show up at every moment just to prove your worth. You know your worth, and that unbothered confidence, that self-focus, that's where the obsession starts. When you're not constantly calling or checking in, he wonders what's changed. When you don't react like you used to, no long texts, no emotional outbursts, he questions whether he still has that grip on you. And the moment he realizes he doesn't, panic sets in. He starts to chase, but this time the energy is reversed. He's the one wondering, he's the one overthinking, he's the one feeling off balance because he used to have constant access to you. Your heart was open, your time was his, your energy was flowing straight to him. Now you've redirected all of that energy back to you. And that shift creates scarcity. That shift makes him realize what he had and what he might be losing. You see, people don't value what they expect. They value what they miss. So when you stop being the one who initiates everything, who carries the emotional labor, who always fills the silence, he starts to feel the emptiness. And in that emptiness, he starts to crave the one thing that used to feel certain. You. That's why the woman who knows how to be distant with elegance always holds power. She's not cold. She's not unavailable. She's just not overexposed. She gives, but she gives wisely. She shows up, but only when it feels right. She doesn't withhold affection to manipulate. She simply no longer feels the need to overextend just to be seen. And that self-respect, that grace with boundaries, it hits different. Because now, he has to work to reach you. He has to think before he speaks. He has to earn your time, your attention, your space. And the more he has to earn it, the more he values it. It's the law of demand. The rarer something is, the more people want it. That applies to diamonds, luxury cars, and yes, emotionally grounded women who don't hand themselves over to just anyone. You are not for mass consumption. You are not on call, emotionally. You are not here to prove your worth to someone who only recognizes it when you're gone. You are the prize, and your availability should reflect that. Let him wonder. Let him sit with the silence. Let him feel what it's like to not have instant access to you. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. That's you moving from desperation to dignity. And when you make that move, something incredible happens. He sees you again, not as the girl who's always there, but as the woman who could walk away and be perfectly fine. That potential loss, that distance, that's what creates the obsession, not because you manipulated him, but because you reminded him that you're not his to control. You are yours first, and that is the kind of scarcity that commands attention. You don't have to send a long message. You don't need to scream, argue, or explain yourself, because the truth is, he feels the shift long before you ever say a word. He feels it in your silence. He feels it in your energy. He feels it in the way you no longer light up when he walks in the way your eyes don't search for his approval anymore. Something in you has changed, and it's louder than any words you could ever speak. That shift, it's real. And it's powerful when you begin to detach emotionally, mentally, energetically. He senses the gap. He may not be able to explain it, but he knows. He feels your energy pulling inward, back toward yourself. He feels the weight of your presence start to lift, and that subtle distance, that emotional withdrawal, it hits different. Because now, you're no longer reacting. You're no longer begging, hoping, or holding onto false promises. You've stopped fighting for something one-sided, and that silence, that peace, it shakes him. You used to show up fully. Every time you were invested, available, emotionally present. But now, something inside of you just doesn't respond the same. And that's not because you don't care anymore. It's because you've grown. You've realized your worth. You've stopped giving access to someone who didn't know what to do with it. He feels the shift in the way you no longer rush to reply, in the way your conversations have become calm, short, even distant, not with malice, but with clarity, because now your priority isn't proving your value. Your priority is preserving your peace. And here's what most people don't understand. Energy doesn't lie. You can fake a smile, you can act like everything's fine, but your energy tells the truth, and the moment your energy changes, he knows. He may not show it, he may play it cool, but he's paying attention. He's noticing that the emotional hold he once had over you is slipping, that his words no longer move you, that his silence no longer breaks you, because you've reached a point where your self-respect speaks louder than your attachment. You don't owe explanations. You don't owe closure. You don't owe constant access to someone who never earned it. The shift in your energy is the closure. Your silence is the conversation. And the more you reclaim your power, the more he starts to feel powerless. It's not about revenge. It's not about making him chase. It's about healing, about honoring yourself, about choosing yourself every single time someone makes you question your worth. And when you do that, when your entire being begins to shift from, I need him, to I deserve better, he feels it in his bones. He starts replaying moments, wondering when the shift began. He questions if he pushed you too far. If maybe, just maybe, he went too long without showing up. And deep down, he knows he did. He knows he had access to something rare, something deep, something real, and he didn't value it when it mattered. That's why the shift is so powerful, because it's not loud, it's not chaotic, it's quiet, graceful, elegant. It's the kind of shift that doesn't demand attention, but commands it, because when a woman detaches with dignity, the world notices. He notices. You see, people expect a reaction. They expect you to cry, to plead, to chase. But when you stop doing all of that, when you no longer play your old role, everything changes. The dynamic shifts, the energy rebalances, and suddenly he realizes he's no longer in control, that loss of control. That's when the regret starts to settle in. That's when he starts wondering if it's too late. That's when he starts feeling the weight of your silence more than he ever felt the sound of your voice. Because you don't have to announce your growth. You don't have to explain your evolution. The woman you're becoming will speak for you. And if he can't rise to meet her, he will feel the distance long before you ever walk away. So keep shifting. Quietly, calmly, confidently, let your energy say what your lips no longer need to. Because the more you separate not with anger, but with awareness, the more he feels the truth he never wanted to face. You don't need him anymore.